بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أسعد الله صباحكم بكل خير وأهلا وسهلا بكم في مؤسسة الملك خالد الخيرية. نرحب بكم أيها الإخوة والأخوات أجمل ترحيب في حفل إطلاق برنامج الزمالة الخيري شغف، ونشكركم لأنكم شاركتمونا هذا الشغف في العمل الخيري والاجتماعي. تطلق المؤسسة برنامج الزمالة الخيري بالشراكة الاستراتيجية مع مؤسسة ميليندا غيتس الخيرية. لذلك نحن سعداء اليوم بأن يكون معنا السيد بيل غيتس. We're very happy to have you with us today. Thanks for coming and welcome to King Khalid Foundation. كذلك نحن سعداء في المؤسسة بأن يكون بيننا معالي وزير الشؤون الاجتماعية الدكتور ماجد القصبي. شكرا لحضورك معالي الوزير ودعمك لهذا البرنامج. سيكون حفل الإطلاق عبارة عن جلسة حوار ونقاش، وسيكون المتحدثون الرئيسيون فيه من اليمين صاحبة السمو الملكي الأميرة البندري الفيصل مدير العامة لمؤسسة الملك خالد الخيرية، معالي وزير الشؤون الاجتماعية الدكتور ماجد القصبي، السيد بيل غيتس، ويدير هذا الحوار الأستاذ سلمان الأنصاري. والأستاذ الأنصاري هو المؤسس والرئيس للجنة شؤون العلاقات السعودية الأمريكية، وهو ناشط في مجال الصحافة والإعلام. أترككم الآن مع الأستاذ سلمان الأنصاري متمنيا لكم الفائدة والمتعة. المايك معك.
يعطيك العافية خالي. أهلا وسهلا في الجميع. بالفعل اليوم يوم رائع ويوم مشمس في الرياض. طبعا لابد أن نعلم أنه الآن نحن نمر في حالة من الاستنفار التنموي في المملكة العربية السعودية. جميع الاتجاهات تقودنا إلى التنمية، جميع الرؤى تقودنا إلى التنمية. طبعا نشكر مؤسسة الملك خالد الخيرية ومؤسسة بيل أند ميليندا غيتس فاونديشن لرغبتهم في هذه الشراكة اللي من خلالها حيكون هنالك تغيير كبير في مفهوم العمل الخيري، لأن هنالك رؤية تقليدية للعمل الخيري ليس فقط في المملكة بل في منطقة الشرق الأوسط وفي الأغلب أيضا في كثير من دول العالم، أنه دائما العمل الخيري منحصر في دفع أموال للفقراء، بناء دور عبادة، بناء أماكن معينة. ولكن العمل الخيري أوسع من هذا الشيء، وأنا أساس كذا أقول أنه يوم 3 أبريل هو يوم سيتم فيه إعادة صياغة العمل الخيري في المملكة العربية السعودية. وفي البداية حابين نبدأ مع سمو الأميرة البندري تعطينا بس نبذة صغيرة جدا عن موضوع الشراكة مع بيل أند ميليندا غيتس فاونديشن.
السلام عليكم جميعا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. طبعا فكرة الشراكة بدأت، احنا صار لنا كم سنة واحنا بنتكلم مع البيل أند ميليندا غيتس فاونديشن انه كيف ممكن نعمل شيء داخل السعودية يكون مشترك بيننا. توصلنا خلال زيارة لهم السنة اللي فاتت فكرة إنه نبغى نطور القطاع، نبغى نخلي الشباب لما أقول الشباب أقصد ذكور وإناث، إنهم يشوفوا إنه القطاع الثالث هو قطاع جذاب للعمل، يشوفوا إنه هو له مسار وظيفي لهم، وإحنا ما نقصر في التطوع وفي التبرع، بس كيف إنه ممكن يشوفوه إنه مجال للتوظيف. فتوصلنا إلى فكرة المشروع بحيث إنه كبداية أو كتجربة نختار 10 شباب سعوديين هم يوافقوا أنهم يشتغلوا في القطاع الثالث لمدة 2 خلال السنتين هذه في مرشدين من القطاع الخاص يدعموهم، يساعدوهم، يكونوا متواجدين بحيث أنه ممكن يستشيروهم وقت الحاجة. في فترة بين السنتين اللي هو في الصيف 2017 يروحوا زيارة للبيل أند ميليندا غيتس فاونديشن ولبعض الجهات اللي تعمل معاهم، يصير لهم تدريب هناك، يكتسبوا خبرة من التجربة هذه، وبرضو يحصلوا على دورة تدريبية في أحد الجامعات المتميزة، يا هارفارد يا كولومبيا، من هذا المستوى في كيفية إدارة المنظمات غير الربحية. فالفكرة أنه الجمعية اللي هم توظفوا فيها خلال السنتين هذه تستفيد من خبرتهم، وبنفس الوقت هم يستفيدوا من التجربة.
جميل، الله يعطيك العافية سمو الأميرة. طبعا برنامج شغف مثل ما تفضلت سمو الأميرة هو برنامج واعد جدا، وطبعا سيتم تعيين 10 أشخاص واختيارهم لقيادة العمل الخيري في المملكة العربية السعودية بالطرق الغير تقليدية. طبعا ممكن نوجه الآن السؤال لمستر بيل غيتس. It's a big honor to have you here, seriously. Basically, can you tell us a little bit about your interest on the Saudi third sector here, and why did you choose King Khalid Foundation?
Well, I'm very excited to be here and to announce this new partnership. My last 8 years I've been full-time working for the Gates Foundation, and I love philanthropy. I love the kinds of things that philanthropies can do. Every philanthropy is specialized. They have to pick something that they want to do. In the case of the Gates Foundation, a lot of what we've done is helping on health in poor countries, but we also do a lot of work on education, and that program is largely in the United States. But the idea of encouraging philanthropy is something that we care deeply about. Philanthropy is very, very important. In fact, as the government's trying to solve so many problems, whether it's how do we have great schools, how do we deal with people with handicaps, orphans, how do we build up the capacity of our healthcare sector. In fact, the government needs to challenge the nonprofits to step up and help in those areas. And so I'd say a couple of things about Saudi Arabia that may explain why we're excited about this partnership. The first is that it is a country that's very generous. In most countries, when I go and talk about philanthropy, the limiting factor is that there's not enough resources available to the sector. People just don't think of giving money away. Here in this country, people are very generous, and so the goal is to take that generosity and use it in the best way possible, to have there be new institutions, and we're hearing about how the ministry now is making it easier for people to come up with nonprofits, even encouraging. It's less of a, hey, we're here to restrict what you do, and more of a encouraging that, yes, the government will benefit by these things. But you not only need resources, you need talent. And we have an example in the United States where we had a problem that the very top students weren't thinking about going into education and teaching. And so a group called Teach for America was created that for 2 years, the very top graduates, all the schools whose names, like Harvard graduates, would go and spend a couple of years working in the schools. That was their only commitment. They didn't have to stay. Now, it turned out about 70% of them did stay, and they became the reformers that built a lot of great new educational approaches, including what are called charter schools. It was virtually all these Teach for America people who did that work. So they had this incredibly positive effect on the sector. And they also really were able to highlight the role of the sector and get the policies to change around that. And so the idea here is that starting small, but that we'll do something very much like Teach for America, where it's a 2-year commitment. They'll be working hands-on, but our foundation, the time with the university, will be engaged with them to talk about things like impact and measurement and really the best examples of nonprofit work from all over the world, some of which are in the United States, some of which are here, some of which are in other countries. And so we've been talking with the King Khalid Foundation for some time about how do we encourage Saudi philanthropy, not just in our areas of work, but more broadly. And so when this idea came together, we saw that, hey, this is fantastic. Let's do this, and this will lead us to many other things.
Amazing. Great. I think you've just said that something about the talent. And we can see here in Saudi, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, that we are having more of a direction towards investing in human capitals. And because as everybody knows that we have been having like more than 150,000 people studying abroad. And I think it's the time right now to cultivate that. One of the main points that we are having at the moment with the national transformation we are having in the kingdom is to invest in the human capital. So, and you've mentioned the talent. I believe that you're one of the people who have been very famous for being, having very approachable kind of stories regarding getting people to work in philanthropy. And one of the stories, just to tell the audience, maybe the mosquitoes jar. And it was like a jar that is full of mosquitoes. And Mr. Gates came to the public and told them that these mosquitoes are having malaria. And opened the jar in front of everybody. Everybody was freaked out. He wanted to deliver a message. He told them that imagine there are people in countries like in some African countries who are living this 24/7. So the creativity of delivering the message is part of the main talent when we speak about being talented. Because when we just go in a very kind of rigid way and just tell people just pay for the poor, etc., I think people will not be very interested. But if you give them, like, it would be great. If you have any comment about that kind of experiment?
Well, yeah, nonprofit work can stay very obscure. And so we need the same type of thinking that we use in the for-profit sector to say, hey, why is this work important? Or who are the heroes? Or what are the stories? In that case, I was talking about malaria, which is a disease that in most rich countries we don't think about much. We don't think about being at risk. So the idea of the mosquitoes was to kind of draw them in personally to what it's like to have to deal with malaria. Malaria is mostly, of course, in Africa, but even Yemen, amongst the many challenges that Yemen has, is that it's got malaria, and at some point, eradicating malaria there will be a very exciting thing.
Thank you so much. معالي الوزير، الله يعطيك العافية دكتور. دكتور ماجد، ما هو يعني تعليقك فيما تفضل فيه الأستاذ بيل فيما يتعلق في أهمية دفع الحكومة، إنه يعني ذكرها بالتحدي to challenge البرايفت سيكتور إنهم يروحوا ويعملوا ويركزوا أكثر على موضوع القطاع الثالث اللي هو الأعمال الخيرية، وما هو دور الحكومة في الفترة الحالية في هذا القطاع؟
أولاً أسعد الله صباحكم جميعاً في هذا اليوم التنموي الحقيقي، وباسم القطاع الثالث وباسم الجمعيات وباسم المؤسسات الأهلية والخيرية نرحب بهذا الرجل القامة اللي ما يعرف طبعاً ميليندا غيتس هي أكبر فاونديشن في العالم، ولديها من الأوقاف ما يقارب 44 مليار دولار في نهاية 2014. ما في شك أهنئ مؤسسة الملك خالد الخيري على هذه الشراكة وأدعو الله لهم التوفيق. وما في شك وجود شراكة بين قامة عالمية وقامة وطنية ما في شك حتثمر إلى شيء إيجابي ودروس مستفادة. أنا بدي أغير الرولز يا سلمان إن كان تأذن لي. أنا وزير وموجود عندكم في السعودية كثير، هذا رجل نستفاد من كل دقيقة منه. بدي إني أنا يعني لا تسألني، خليني أستمع وخلي والله صحيح ونستفاد. وأنا مستعد أجي في وقت ثاني، لكنه فعلاً وجود خبرات مثله يعني خلنا نعطي الوقت له. وأنا أرجوك وأستأذنكم أنه أتنازل عن وقتي كله وأرحب من قلبي بكم، وأدعو الله إن شاء الله أنه تكون هذه بداية لشراكات كبيرة والله يحييك. بس خلاص.
يعطيك العافية معالي الوزير، دبلوماسية رائعة. ولكن راجعين لك على فكرة.
خلينا نستفاد من وجوده.
جميل. سمو الأميرة، رؤيتك للقطاع واللي هو الثيرد سيكتور، القطاع الثالث، طبعا القطاع الأول الحكومة، القطاع الثاني القطاع الخاص، ثم القطاع الثالث اللي هو الأعمال الخيرية والتطوعية. رؤيتك فيما يتعلق في النظرة التقليدية المتواجدة لدى الكثير من الأفراد في المجتمع بشكل عام وأيضا لدى الشركات. أنتم في إدارة مؤسسة الملك خالد الخيرية، هل وجدتم رغبة وجموح من قبل الشركات والقطاع الخاص والمستثمرين ورجال الأعمال السعوديين للدخول في شراكات وفي دعم لمشاريع خيرية، أم وجدتم أن هنالك نوع من التردد؟
الحين أحرجني الدكتور ماجد، صرت أحس إني ما لازم أحكي، بس اعذروني يعني بتفلسف عليكم شوي. الحقيقة أنه إحنا من خبرتنا مع الجمعيات ومع الشركات الداعمة إلى الآن، خلينا نقول في نسبة من الشركات توجهها للمسؤولية الاجتماعية أو للدعم هو توجه إعلامي أكثر. فهم بتلاقي إنه المسؤولية الاجتماعية أو إدارة المسؤولية الاجتماعية هي مشتركة مع إدارة العلاقات العامة. فكل ما لها النظرة هذه بتتغير. بس أعتقد إذا قدرنا إنه إحنا نأثر على قطاع الشركات إنهم يصيروا ينظروا للمسؤولية الاجتماعية مش بس إنه الواحد يعطي دعم، فهذه مسؤولية اجتماعية، ولكن كمان إنه يهتم ببيئة العمل، يحسن معاملة موظفينه، ما يلوث البيئة، يتأكد إنه من خلال أعماله ما في ضرر على المجتمع. أعتقد هذا كله يعني تصير المسؤولية الاجتماعية جزء من التركيبة الأساسية للشركة، ومش بس فقط أداء يعني الواحد يعطي ولا يدعم. هذه من ناحية. أعتقد أنه كانت يعني من السابق إحنا تعبنا، إحنا عملنا مشروع اسمه تبنى جمعية، وكانت الفكرة أنه شركة تتبنى جمعية مش مادياً، بس أنها تعطي من وقت موظفينها ومن وقتها أنه كيف يساعدوا الجمعية أنها تنمو. فشلنا لأنه ما لقينا أي شركة عندها الرغبة أنهم يعني يدخلوا في المشروع هذا. حاولنا لمدة سنة تقريباً وبعدين مات المشروع. فلقينا يعني هم بيتكلموا أنهم متحمسين، بس لما يجي للواقع من وقت موظفينكم من كذا ما نجح المشروع.
هل تتوقعي بسبب الابروتش مثلا او بطريقه العرض؟
قد يكون احنا ما عرفنا كيف نشكل الفكره، ما اعرف. بس انا اعتقد انه هي اسهل انه الواحد يعطي فلوس وما يسوي شيء. أصعب بكثير إنه الواحد يعطي من وقته ومن جهوده ومن طاقته. فأعتقد إنه التحول هذا في قطاع الشركات هو المهم. أعتقد إذا إحنا نجحنا في المشروع هذا وصار عندنا مجموعة شباب وشابات اشتغلوا في القطاع، سواء أكيد في نسبة منهم حيطلعوا للقطاع الخاص بعد كذا، بس على الأقل حيكون عندهم ارتباط ذهني بالقطاع الثالث، وحيصيروا هم يعرفوا يتعاملوا مع القطاع الثالث بطريقة أفضل، وخاصة إذا قدرنا نكبر العدد إن شاء الله.
جميل.
هو التوجه العالمي اليوم CSR اللي هو الكوربريت سوشيال ريسبونسبيلتي. التوجه اليوم العالمي ISR الانdividual social responsibility، إنه المسؤولية تبدأ بالفرد قبل أن تصل
جميل. ما دامك علقت معي وظيفة استحمل سؤالي.
لا أنا بدي نستفاد من وقته والله. جميل. يعني أنا بدي نستفاد وخلي نسأله ونستفاد منه، وإحنا يعني أنا موجود ملحوق.
برجع لك طال عمرك. Great. So I think there is a concept that has been initiated by Harvard School that talks about the shared value. The shared value has something to do with the idea that when companies are actually providing to the society, they're not losing, they're actually having more of an economic growth. And there's like a model to do so. And I think it's one of the things that we need to embrace and to convince the companies and the private sector to show them how they can have a business model through which they can bring more profits while they are helping the society. Is there any kind of experience that you can help us on that regard?
Well, definitely this idea that although your primary responsibility is to your shareholders and maximizing profit, that consistent with that, a company can do a lot of social good. And so the idea that you encourage your employees to volunteer their time, you know, for example, the communities that you're in, you want those communities to be doing well. The idea that you can give some of the company resources to good causes. Also, many companies have some expertise. And so, for example, with a technology company, the idea of going into the schools and helping provide the computers and the software and the training there, helping the nonprofits to use those tools makes sense. Our foundation works a lot in the area of health and agriculture. And so I have a regular meeting with the CEOs of the big health companies, the drug companies, the pharmaceutical companies, and then another meeting with the people of the agricultural companies who do the seeds, where we talk to them about how their company can be a leader. And one of the things that can happen is, if we get this going well, is that even a young person who's going to work for a company wants to know what the values of that company are, that they're really engaged in something more than just making profit. And so that it'll help them attract a workforce that's a very high talent workforce. But the idea of the program we've announced here today, that some of those people have had an exposure to these well-run nonprofit activities, that they'll bring that understanding even if they go to the back into the private sector. That'll be important to bootstrap this relationship. So I do think that the United States is perhaps the furthest along in thinking of the corporate social responsibility.
And is there like an approach that you can help like the Saudi corporates here to just give them like just the know-how on how to maximize profits through doing some work for the society? Is there like a specific formula? I'm not asking for a silver bullet, but I'm asking for a formula that your organization can help.
Well, there's some stuff that's general to all types of companies. That is, there's a few communities that your business is in, and you want to be a very strong part of that community. You know, that's true for every company. So you should want to help the schools and the sports teams and the social services nonprofits in those areas. And even your top executives should get involved in that. And the idea of things like an automatic payroll deduction, where if you say you want to share some portion, that the employer makes it really easy, because every time they write you a check, they know you designated some of that for charitable donations. Right. And having, you know, we always had at Microsoft, we had various parts of the company compete with each other to see who could get the most employees involved in agreeing to do those deductions. And it helped build the culture of the company, and that we cared more about just ourselves. Particularly, we were bringing people in from all over the world, and so we used that as a way of creating a community. So there are definitely general things about this that apply to all companies. But then when you get a specific company, you know, say it's a company involved in food, well then you'd like to think, okay, how are we helping out with hunger? Hunger in our communities, hunger in the world in general. If you're a bank, you know, do poor people have access to financial services? If you're a health company, you know, then it's very natural that those things should be made available. And so each company wants to not just have a bunch of general terms about their social responsibility. They want to think about their core strength and how they bring that back. And you know, for Microsoft, it was about making sure software and the magic of software was being used even by the people who couldn't afford to buy it.
Great, thank you so much. طبعا سؤال عام الآن. الآن المملكة العربية السعودية تعتبر دولة من أحد يعني الدول القلائل التي لا تلزم الشركات بدفع أي ضريبة، والمملكة العربية السعودية تقدم تسهيلات جمركية للشركات ليست متواجدة هذه التسهيلات في أي دولة في العالم. المملكة العربية السعودية تقدم خدمات أيضاً في دفع رواتب لبعض الموظفين في الشركات من خلال برنامج هدف وغيره، وكل هذا والمملكة العربية السعودية إلى الآن لم نجد من رجال أعمالها ومن شركاتها دعم حقيقي لمشاريع الأعمال الخيرية في المملكة. أين الخلل؟ معالي الوزير.
والله أنا أقول هذا السؤال يعني خارج عن موضوع
أبداً.
لا صحيح. يعني أنا لا أقبل أنه تقول أنه رجال الأعمال والشركات لا تدعم القطاع الخيري. أنا أعتقد في رجال أعمال ما شاء الله، يعني رجل أعمال في مكة تبرع ب300 مليون ريال لإنشاء وقف للأيتام في مكة. وما أعطي الشيخ سليمان الراجحي ما شاء الله عنده أكبر من مؤسسات أوقف 25 مليار ريال للأعمال الخيرية. من الصعب أن احنا نحط يعني بلانكت إيميج على رجال الأعمال، هذا غير صحيح. لكن ما في شك في تحديات، في يعني مشوار التطوير قائم، لكن القطاع في تطور مستمر. اللي أنا بودي أنا أستفاد من اللقاء I will ask you a question if I may.
معلش قبل ما تسأل بخليك تسأل السؤال، بس أنا عندي تعليق على الموضوع. أعتقد الخلل ما هو إنه ما بيشاركوا إنه أعتقد إنه إحنا عندنا مشكلة الفلوس بيتبرعوا إن الأفراد والشركات وفي صرف مهول، لكن كان ماكنزي عاملين دراسة إنه النسبة اللي توصل من التبرعات على مستوى الخليج 20% فقط. في مشكلة، وأنا ما أعتقد يعني الواحد ممكن يقول فساد، أعتقد الفساد يمثل نسبة ضئيلة. أعتقد المشكلة الأساس اللي هي
مصداقية،
قل دبرة خلينا نقول.
لا
حاولت أقولها بلغة فصحى فأعتقد أنه في لأنه القطاع الثالث ضعيف الحين، اللي بدأ يصير أقوى وبدأ يصير مهني أكثر في عمله، وصار يعني ما في هدر. أعتقد أنه الخلل هنا إنه وأرجع للوزير عشان
جميل. لما نتكلم عن موضوع قلة دبرة، وهذه بالفعل ترى موجودة وليست فقط في هذا القطاع، لابد أن نوضح من هو المسؤول. المسؤولية لابد دائما تضع ويتم وضعها لدى الجهة اللي تكون معنية بهذا.
اسمح لي بس، الوزارة هي المسؤول الأول لتعزز الثقة بالقطاع. يعني المسؤولية يعني the buck stops here.
شكرا للاعتراف الجميل.
لا معلش، لازم دور الدولة أن تعزز الثقة في مصداقية هذا القطاع. القطاع مشتت، القطاع ما في تخصصات، 75% من القطاع جمعيات بر، جمعيات التخصصية محدودة، ما في رؤية للقطاع. المصداقية، الناس تبغى مصداقية. أنت اليوم التبرع سهل، لكن الناس تبغى تضمن أنه هذا التبرع رايح حيحقق الأثر اللي من أجله تبرعت. فأعتقد هذا الدولة عليها أن تبدأ وتحوكم، وبدأت وبدأنا بالنظام وبدينا بتعديل النظام وبدينا بحوكمة النظام. بس بدي أنا أستفاد وبدي
جميل، يعطيك العافية. لا، إجابة جميلة،
الله يسلمك. لا يعني Mr. Gates, you're familiar with Harvard's generation rule for family businesses, whereas first generation build the business, second generation milk the business, third generation destroy the business. The trend for family businesses today to go and establish maybe foundation or a trust to go from really commercial business entity into an endowment, sustainable. How would you like, yeah, because I'm sure you've done this, you went through this experience yourself. How would you see this happening, especially in our part of the world where most of our businesses are family businesses here in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, so when we think about philanthropy, in the first generation that's very successful, there's a question of how much of that is handed down generationally or how much of it goes over to a foundation. And in the case, say, of a technology business like computer software, Microsoft, Apple, that kind of thing, you don't think of it as a family business. That is, it's so fast moving, it's so meritocratic, there's lots of capital that comes into the sector. And so there we often see the entrepreneurs who are very successful there will take half or even sometimes more of that wealth they have and dedicate it to a foundation. And in the United States, there are some tax benefits in terms, we have an estate tax, and you pay no estate tax for the portion that you put into the foundation. And so it's become fairly common for those super successful entrepreneurs to build big foundations. And of course, we had a history of that with people like Rockefeller, Carnegie, Ford Foundation, who did very good foundations. And now in this generation, we're just trying to do as well as some of those people in the past. Once the money is being passed down generationally, you can still take some portion of that profitability and say, okay, every year our family's going to put money in, and for the money we're going to give away, we can either create an entity of our own, which has employees and is very engaged, or we can pick places we want to give to. And that's just a choice whether you build an institution or not. There's a lot of, in the United States, the number of things to give to, environmental, social services, universities, it's almost unbelievable, but there's enough excellence in the sector that you feel comfortable. Like if you give money to Stanford or Harvard, you think, okay, that's going to do something. Now you can tell them, hey, put it into this particular area of research, and they'll go and do that. One problem about the nonprofit sector is the idea that if it's not perceived as very well run, then people don't give money to it. And if people don't give money to it, then it's hard to get the really top people and the capacity to have it be very well run. So it's a tricky bootstrap, and it could vary from area to area. Maybe in education, the government creates the possibility for nonprofits to do new types of schools. Maybe in helping orphans or disability. The environmental area is a huge one now in the United States in terms of putting land aside and promoting clean practices. But we should, look at sector by sector within nonprofit and say, is it a lack of talent? Is it a lack of resources? Do the regulations still hold back things there? And that's where you get the bootstrap. And then these people who are very wealthy, hopefully they'll get excited. Philanthropy, although it should be more about science, it's always 50% should be about measurement and science and excellence. But there is a piece, which will be as much as 50%, about passion. In fact, the name of this program we're doing together reminds us that part of the reason people enjoy this is because they see the impact, and they want even these top people who might be able to make more money if they do something else. They're choosing to do this because of that passion. And so whether it's the young talented people or these very successful businessmen, they have to find something. Maybe one of their relatives had a problem with the disease, or maybe they took a trip somewhere and saw some very poor people who weren't getting enough resources, or maybe they saw an amazing charter school in the United States and they came back here and said, hey, does the government allow me to create something like that? So there is always a sort of non-scientific spark that gets somebody going. And the more we can expose people to well-run nonprofits, the more there's a chance that one of them they'll see that they individually or ideally their entire family. Because one of the great things about charity, which I think appeals to Saudi culture, is you can involve your entire family. You can involve your wife, your daughters, your son, all kind of working together and have a kind of family pride in what you're achieving.
Phenomenal. Great. Before we go to the questions, to have some kind of questions from the youth, just like a quick information that Saudi consists of like almost 70% of the population in Saudi Arabia are youth, are under 30 years old. And 52% of the Saudi population are under 25 years old. So is there a specific word that you would love to tell to the Saudi youth?
Well, Saudi Arabia is unusual to have so many young people in a country that's very well off. Typically, as you get richer, your population growth rate goes down even faster than it has here. So you can view this as a challenge and an opportunity. If the education system and the dreams that are created, the passion and engagement of these young people is tapped into, then it's a wonderful thing for the country. But in terms of how many jobs have to be created in the sense that these are worthwhile and meaningful jobs, that's a huge challenge that the country faces. So the idea of, okay, is the education sector going to move very quickly to reform? I think bringing in the nonprofits, things like these charter-type school things, will be part of how that gets done. So I think the nonprofit sector, not only it's a place where we can have good employment, but it's also partly how the kind of experimentation in the educational sector can move a lot faster. The UK is actually another good example where they got the government out of regulating the schools so much, and the government would just look and see were they getting good results, and if so, it was okay. But they weren't saying what the curriculum was, what the labor practices were, even how they allocated the money. They were allowing these more autonomous things. And so, in helping out people who have special needs, there's so many ways that the government can connect to the nonprofit sector. But clearly, these younger people have to see what's possible here.
Right. But you've mentioned that like the availability of jobs. Don't you think it's better and healthier for us as a community to look for encouraging the youth to create their own jobs instead of just looking for jobs?
Well, absolutely. The private sector is always going to be the largest sector by far.
Sure.
And that's the healthy state, is to have the private sector be, 70% of the economy is the private sector, 20% or 25% is the government.
Right.
And the nonprofit sector isn't the largest, but a lot of the creative ideas about how various institutions can be run is coming out in some sense of justice and equity for those who aren't well off. The execution capacity to help with that is coming out of that nonprofit sector. So number one is high quality education and a deregulated private sector that's allowing sort of a bottoms up idea of, okay, what kinds of companies would people like to build?
Thank you, great. Let's move to the more exciting part. And everything is exciting today. Questions?
In the States, they say until the 60s is the new 40s. يعني العمر الآن في أمريكا بيقولوا الستينات هي الأربعين الجديدة. عشان التطور العلم وكذا، بس عشان بيتكلم على اليوث وما اليوث.
So we're still young.
Hello there. My name is Shahad. My name is Shahad Al-Khan. I'm a consultant at PwC. I have two questions I'd like to ask to Mr. Bill Gates and His Excellency. My first question would be, we have a focus on immediate relief, sustainable development. So what would the model of that look like? Also, my second question would be, is we have many pressing issues and important causes worldwide, globally. What would the focus be here in Saudi Arabia specifically and worldwide that are not getting enough attention here?
Was it clear? Go ahead, please.
Not totally. So
Yeah, the first one was basically about like our main focus, as we have been speaking about, like the traditional way of doing philanthropy is just to give like a relief and to just give money here and there, but we're not thinking of sustainable development. So can you touch upon that?
Yeah, the charity is very important. I mean, if somebody doesn't have enough food, you know, giving them some money so they have enough food, that's a good thing. However, you know, in the long run, that doesn't really solve the problem. And so when we think about nonprofits, this idea of charity is a piece, but building up the capacity so that you can retrain that person and understand their problems. You know, maybe they have some health issues. Maybe they need some help to find retraining so they have capacity. And so nonprofit organizations ideally take a long-term view. You know, even, you know, how do you help youth? We have things like YMCA, YWCA, where these after-school programs that involve sports and teaching and helping kids, particularly in those cases, the kids of the poor families have a very rich experience and have some sense of confidence and ambition. And so that's not charity, but it's enabling those people to go out and be stronger contributors. So hopefully if you're dealing with the very short-term crisis of hunger and those things, most of the nonprofit sector, like 90%, is these longer-term issues, like doing something like a charter school. So I'm not against the charitable piece, but it's very hard to measure charity. You know, if you're just giving alms, you don't really know where that went and was that person back the next day. And you know, there's a danger of creating a dependency that person may not change and just be back needing more. And so, you know, all the things we do, we're much more on the long-term pieces that need to get done.
Right, and I think like in the Islamic tradition, we have the concept of sadaqa jariyah. It's like sustainable kind of charity. It's like deeply rooted in our kind of, in our culture. Like, it's always better to have sustainable development, sustainable charity. It's like more of having something that will last, not only for a couple of years, but forever as well. So, is there any question? I think you've raised your hand. Yeah, can you give her the mic, please?
My question is that, given your emphasis on education in the US and the need for changing and reforming that sector to serve the 21st century, why did you decide on healthcare for the rest of the world when perhaps it needs education a bit more? Abu Sulaiman, I don't even know how to introduce myself.
She's a superstar.
Social activist.
Bill?
Well, if I understood, the education sector, you know, there's a tendency to be very tops down in terms of how teachers are trained, how they're hired, what the curriculum is, what the school day looks like. And it leads to very rigid systems that are in fact quite boring for the students involved. And unfortunately, the ability to help teachers be better teachers, to find who are the good teachers and take the best practices of those teachers and insist that the other teachers do those things. Most government-run education systems aren't very good at managing the personnel. And so the way that the nonprofit sector's been brought in is to say, hey, you can create a school as long as the students are learning the material, and you can run that school. You can hire whoever you want, you can spend the school day however you want, you can have whatever curriculum you want. And those schools, which in the US are called charter schools, in the UK they're called independent schools, are far better than the typical government schools. And ideally, two things happen. These independent schools both challenge the fact that, hey, can't the government schools be better? And really get the parents to demand that the teachers be given more feedback, that the people who are not very good teachers not be maintained. You have a real problem in school systems. Is it being run for the adults, the teachers, or is it being run for the students? And typically, in most countries, it ends up being run for the adults, and it's just kind of a coincidence that there are students there, but the labor practices are very rigid. So this new format came along, and it's been just phenomenal. Now, you can also let for-profit members in, but that's always got real problems in terms of are they trying to take too much money out of the system, and can they be measured well? So for college level, typically you do allow for-profit, and as you get to the earlier ages, most countries, they don't allow too much of that, although you allow some. And so in the United States, there are cities where the charter schools are over a third of the capacity. Washington, D.C., New Orleans, Texas, and anyway, it's very much a growing thing. And it all came out of these nonprofit groups and this Teach for America idea of these very talented students. And it reminds us that every kid can learn if you put them in the right type of classroom.
Great. Just to move back in history, in 1850, like we had definitely the Industrial Revolution, then we had the technological, then the digital. What do you think of the next revolution? Some people speak about the nano, but is there something else?
Well, the biggest revolution that's happening is that computers are becoming intelligent. And
artificial intelligence.
So the idea that in a warehouse, you need humans who go in and grab things, and in a factory, you need humans who assemble things. Most of these manual type things will be replaced by intelligent computers, because they'll be parts that move around. People call that robotics. And so in a sense, this is good news. It means that a lot of these manual type jobs, even things like driving or being a security person, a robot can monitor the perimeter and see what's going on, and kind of never fall asleep in a way that's much better than a human can. So it's good news in that it means a lot of these tasks are no longer needed. But it also then says, okay, where will those jobs be? What will people do? And the part of the challenge here is that this is happening more rapidly. The revolution where farming went away as a primary source of employment took place really from sort of 1850 to 1950. Yeah. So we had 100 years, which means many generations. We never said to somebody, hey, if you were born a farmer, you have to give that up. Right. We just said, hey, if you're a farmer, your son is going to go live in the city, and he's not going to be a farmer. And so things that happen generationally are much easier to adapt to than things that happen in a 20 or 30 year time frame.
Amazing.
And so, the world is very dynamic now with all of this new technology.
Beautiful. Any question from the male Okay, a lot of people. Go with the first row, please.
Mr. Gates, thank you so much for showing up. My name is Hussein Dafa with the Saudi American Public Relations Affairs Committee. As an entrepreneur, I would love to see Saudi youth move away from relying too much on their country's welfare system and rely a little bit more upon themselves for financial and professional independence, especially since Saudi Arabia is moving away from an oil-based economy to a knowledge-based one. As such, how do I convince the average Saudi youth that their chief capital asset is the one they hold between their ears? Thank you.
Well, you're definitely right about that. And we all know that if you get a good education, it's not just that your economic potential is much higher. Your life is far more interesting. That is, you'll get to solve complex problems, you'll get to meet other interesting people, you'll probably get to travel the world far more. And that learning it's so much fun once you get a certain level of confidence. And of course, we do have technology coming into the area of learning where access to materials, even great videos, information, is becoming more available. And our foundation is one of many that's trying to figure out how do we take this new technology and bring it into the schools. So there's this word called personal learning, that as you learn math, you can learn at your own pace, and you never get bored because the school, what they're teaching is ahead of you or behind you. And, you know, to me, I was here in 2006, and there was a big thing about making Saudi Arabia one of the most competitive countries in the world. And that, you know, again, here we are, the same challenge is in front of us. Unless something dramatic's done in the education system and in the perception of the youth that, yes, I need to do this and this is good for me, unless something is done there, you know, you won't achieve these goals. Fortunately, you know, Saudi Arabia is rich enough that you can think, okay, over a 20-year period, let's solve this problem. But that means the teachers who are being trained today and the schools that are being designed today, if you want to even succeed over 20 years, you need to make sure that they are changing now. Trying to do it faster than that is probably unachievable. But it is always daunting. You know, in the United States, we always look at China and we say, oh, they work so hard and they're so hungry. Well, it's partly they were a poor country and they had a sense of crisis. And how do you create, you don't want people to panic, but you don't want them to be complacent. And so striking this balance of, hey, wake up, we need you, we can't take care of you the way we have in the past, but you know, don't get too upset. You know, there can be an ending to this if you participate and we commit to do our part in terms of the world-class institutions and creating these opportunities. It's a tricky balance.
Amazing. I think we are having a very interesting development in Saudi, and also like a trajectory towards progress in every field, which is great. Before we give a big hand of applause to the panelists, let's give a big hand of applause for Meilinda, who is missed here. We wish she was with us today. And now we conclude, so thank you so much for coming here. And as I said, the 3rd of April is a big day. It's a day when we revolutionize the idea and the philosophy of philanthropy in Saudi Arabia. Thank you so much.